They say every man wants to be great, but few ever ask the cost. Power, discipline, vision. These aren't just qualities. They are burdens. And the man who carries them doesn't get to live a quiet life. He doesn't get to sit still in a warm home, repeating sweet words over dinner. No, he's chasing something bigger, something eternal. And in that chase, there's no time for constant validation, no room for insecurity, and no space for softness. Napoleon Bonaparte understood this truth. Not just as an emperor, but as a man. You've heard the quote, "Women are nothing but machines for producing children." Brutal? Yes. But beneath the surface, it wasn't hatred, it was disappointment. It was the cold realization that many women didn't want his greatness. They wanted his presence. And greatness rarely gives you both. While he marched across continents, building an empire from dust, Josephine, his love, sought comfort elsewhere. She betrayed him, not because he lacked passion, but because he lacked predictability. Because she couldn't tame him. And that's the hidden truth. Greatness is untamed. It doesn't pause. It doesn't kneel. It demands everything from a man: his time, his focus, his soul. And in return, it often gives him silence, solitude, misunderstanding. Many women don't desire greatness. They desire safety, predictability. A man who is emotionally available, soft, present. A man whose mission is her, not the world. So what does she do? She chooses the man who orbits her, not the one who leads. The one who stays close, not the one who climbs. But a man who's chosen the fire of ambition can't be domesticated. He doesn't seek affection at the cost of purpose. He burns too hot, moves too fast, and stands too tall. And for that reason, he walks alone. The higher a man climbs, the more he disappears. Not because he wants to, but because few can follow. Greatness isolates. Not out of cruelty, but because emotional comfort cannot survive in the furnace where legends are forged. And the man who's chasing something eternal, he doesn't have the luxury of being constantly available. He isn't ignoring love. He's just consumed by something deeper. A vision, a war, a legacy. We live in a world that claims to celebrate greatness, but only when it's entertaining. Only when it's beautiful, polished, safe. The crowd cheers for ambition, until that ambition threatens their comfort. Look around. A man with real drive, real purpose, real vision. He doesn't just challenge the world, he terrifies it. Especially in relationships. Because women, whether they admit it or not, often prefer predictable affection over powerful obsession. They say they want a strong man, a focused man, a man who knows where he's going. But when that man stops replying, when he disappears into silence, into thought, into mission, they begin to question it. They call it cold. They call it distant. They call it emotionally unavailable. But greatness doesn't come with soft edges. It comes with scars. It demands discipline. And discipline often looks like detachment. Napoleon felt that pain. The emperor of momentum, the master of war, reduced to desperate letters, begging Josephine not to leave. She left anyway, because even power cannot seduce a heart that craves safety more than sacrifice. And here's the harsh reality. The modern man believes that if he becomes more successful, more refined, more dominant, he will finally be loved. But the truth? The more exceptional he becomes, the lonelier the path. Because greatness isn't emotionally convenient. It doesn't orbit someone else's world. It creates its own. And the farther a man ascends, the fewer can understand the air he breathes. Power doesn't fit neatly into modern relationships. Why? Because real power doesn't apologize for being focused. It doesn't slow down to explain itself. It doesn't soften just to be accepted. And so, the man who chooses to build something eternal, he often finds himself punished not for failing, but for daring to succeed on his own terms. Napoleon lived this truth. He was a giant among men, a commander of empires. But in the quiet moments, even he was cold, too intense, too distant. How else is a man supposed to build an empire? You can't make history while tending to every emotional need. You can't conquer the world and also be available for every moment of doubt, every moment of insecurity. You can either be her comfort or be your own legend, but not both. That is the ancient trade-off. You either build a nest or you build a name. Most men never choose. They try to balance it. They try to lead without offending, to climb without disrupting, to achieve greatness without losing affection. But that balance is a myth, a lie that leaves them torn in half. Because the moment you choose the path of fire, the path of vision, legacy, obsession, you are no longer just a man. You become a force. And forces are feared, not embraced. The emotional script of modern relationships expects a man to make her the mission. But the man who's chasing something higher, he can't pause to orbit. He's not ignoring her, he's obeying something louder. And that makes him incompatible. Not because he lacks love, but because his love isn't soft. It's not made of sweet nothings and lazy mornings. It's made of sacrifice, of silence, of obsession. Most won't understand it. Most will walk away from it. And that's exactly what Napoleon faced. Because when a man chooses legacy over love, he must also accept this. He may win the world, but he will lose the crowd. A man chasing greatness doesn't walk alone by choice. He walks alone because the world cannot follow. He outgrows what others settle for. He speaks in the language of vision, but most only understand comfort. And so, they call him cold, arrogant, distant. But he is none of these. He is simply consumed by a mission too large to explain. Napoleon didn't seek solitude, he was driven into it. Driven by the very weight of his vision. By the pressure of becoming something more than just a man. Because to be great is not to be understood. It is to be misinterpreted, feared, and sometimes abandoned. The world doesn't demonize the weak. It worships their softness. But it does attack the great. It labels them toxic, unloving, emotionally unavailable. Why? Because they cannot be owned. They cannot be molded. You cannot control a man who bows to purpose over people. And that is terrifying. He isn't distracted. He isn't disinterested. He's just occupied with building something eternal. While others chase affection, he chases fire. While others pause for praise, he keeps moving forward, even when no one claps. That's what society can't admit. That most people, yes, most women too, don't actually want a great man. They want a safe man. One they can predict. One they can anchor. One they can keep close. But the visionary isn't predictable. He's not made to sit still. He's made to move mountains. And that movement? It makes people uncomfortable. Napoleon was punished not for his ambition, but for refusing to kneel. Not to love, not to tradition, not to comfort. He rose too far, saw too much, moved too fast. And so, even the emperor, the man who fought to protect, was left behind. Because in the end, even the lion dies alone. It's not a tragedy. It's a law. You cannot build something eternal and expect to be embraced by those who only understand the temporary. At some point, every man faces a brutal choice. Build a legacy or build a nest. One gives you comfort. The other gives you eternity. But never both. And that's what Napoleon understood long before most men ever dared to ask the question. He realized that love, as beautiful as it seems, comes with conditions. It wants time. It wants presence. It wants a version of you that isn't always at war with the world. But greatness? It demands everything. And when you give everything, your time, your discipline, your soul, you come home to find something strange. You're not admired. You're resented. Not because you failed, but because your success reminds others of what they never dared to pursue. Your ambition becomes a threat. Your silence becomes rejection. Your focus? Interpreted as arrogance. And suddenly, you're the villain in a life you built through sacrifice. This is why most women don't choose the great man. Not in practice. Maybe they admire him from afar. Maybe they quote his discipline, repost his wisdom, nod at his speeches. But they marry something else. They choose comfort over conquest. Stability over obsession. Predictability over purpose. And what's worse, many don't even realize they're doing it. They settle upward in appearance, but downward in essence. He looks like a man, talks like a man, but inside, he's soft, malleable, molded not by mission, but by her moods, her fears, her timing. He doesn't challenge her, he accommodates her, and for that, he is loved, but never deeply respected, because deep down, she knows. She didn't choose a king, she chose a servant who dressed like one. But the man who refuses to kneel, the man who climbs while others sleep, he must accept this. He is not unloved because of his flaws. He is unloved because of his fire. And most cannot stand the heat. You weren't rejected because you were broken. You were rejected because you burned too bright. That's the part no one tells you. It wasn't your flaws. It was your fire, your ambition, your relentless desire to become something more than ordinary. And that kind of heat? It doesn't feel like love. It feels like pressure. To be with a man who won't pause, who doesn't need constant validation, who walks alone and keeps walking, that isn't romantic. That's terrifying. Because most people, most women, don't want to rise. They want to rest. They're not looking for a storm. They're looking for shelter. And a man on fire offers no shelter. He offers challenge. He offers truth. He offers a mirror. And that mirror? It's unbearable. Because it reflects everything they are not. Your focus makes their distraction obvious. Your discipline highlights their chaos. Your solitude? It exposes their dependency. So what do? They walk away. Not with hate. Not with drama. But with quiet fear. They tell themselves you're too intense. Too distant. Too difficult to love. But what they're really saying is this: I can't keep up. And that's why they choose the manageable man. The man who will pause when she cries. Who will shrink when she doubts. Who will stay even when he's dying inside, just to make her feel safe. That man is loved. He is needed. But he is never truly followed. Because nothing about him leads. He doesn't ignite her soul. He calms her fears. And while that might feel like love, it isn't respect. But you weren't meant to be loved like that. You're not here to be tolerated. You're here to build, to rise, to lead. And yes, that will cost you. But understand this: better to be feared for your fire than loved for your ashes. You were never meant to be a lullaby. You were born a storm. And storms don't apologize for shaking the ground. Your life is not soft. It is steep, unforgiving, uncomfortable. But that discomfort? That's the price of destiny. Because the man who builds a legacy doesn't get to be understood. He gets to be remembered. Comfort won't reward you. Legacy will. So let her go. Let the idea of being chosen, understood, adored, let it burn. Because you weren't built to orbit her world. You were built to forge your own. And yes, it will cost you. You'll walk alone. You'll be doubted. You'll be misunderstood, vilified, labeled. They'll say you're too much, too focused, too serious. They'll twist your silence into weakness, your standards into arrogance, your mission into selfishness. Let them, because you don't need their understanding. You need your fire. And if you keep walking, keep bleeding for the vision, your name will echo in the silence long after they forget the men they chose instead of you. No woman builds statues. No woman rewrites history. No woman leads nations into fire. Men do. And they do it alone, unloved, uncelebrated, unstoppable. So stop asking why she didn't choose you. You already know. She didn't want greatness. She wanted comfort. And you? You were never comfort. You were never meant to be soft. You were never meant to kneel. You are danger. And the world still bows to danger. If these words set something on fire in you, don't silence it. Don't shrink for their comfort. Don't soften to be accepted. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be understood.